Merry meet. I'm so glad you stumbled across this video. Let's talk about Wicca, the craft of the wise, witchcraft. Hi, I'm Lisa Stewart. For nearly 30 years, Anton and I have been blessed to own a metaphysical store in New Paltz, New York. Together with our community, we have built the Stewart tradition of Wicca, steeped in Welsh Celtic mythology. We invite you to enjoy our videos, read our book, partake in our workshops and classes, have a reading, visit our store, and help make the Celtica dream come true. This is our life, this is our magic, and this is the Awareness Shop. I'd like to talk to you about a class that Anton and I teach every year. The class only runs once a year for a year and a day, once a month on Sundays, and it starts every October. You see, Anton and I have been raising witches since 2008. So a few years ago, I think 5 or 6 now, we put together a course that took all of the kind of classes that we've been teaching about the craft and put it into one kind of college type course because so many people said they wanted to go to witch school. So we thought, well, that's a cool idea. Let's have some witch school. Witch Mother Lisa, I'm already intrigued and I'd love to sign up for the Craft of the Wise course. How do I do it? Head on over to the Awareness Shop's Facebook events page and find the Craft of the Wise course. It'll tell you all about it. So the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is our book. Anton and I wrote this book called Simply Wicca, Coming Home to the Craft of the Wise. And it's kind of billed as a beginner's guide to Wicca. And you certainly could start here. And it really is written simply and easy to understand. So if you're an avid reader, you could probably buzz through it in a sitting, in a day. But then when you go back through it, you'll start to see what's hidden between the lines. And one of the things I always say is you see from where you're standing. So if you read this book cover to cover and then spent a year following the wheel of the year and the cycles of the full moons and the new moons and really paid attention to nature and the energy, you'd read the book again and you'd see something very different on those pages. And I have been on the path since 1989, and I became a high priestess in 2008. Even in that amount of time, so many years looking at the wheel of the year, celebrating the Sabbats, working with community, writing rituals, every year I see a little something more in each of the Sabbats. Or I start to understand a little bit more about my connection to nature or deity. And we really wanted to be able to bring that opening to people so they can begin to truly understand the craft as well. Witch Mother Lisa, how do I get a copy of Simply Wicca? Well, you could order it on Amazon or other fine booksellers' websites. But if you head on over to the Awareness Shop's website and mention that you saw this video, we'll be glad to sign your copy for you. So we have our own tradition of Wicca, and we call it the Stewart tradition. And it is based in Gardnerian, Alexandrian traditional Wicca, but it also has some elements of high magic and some elements of druidry. And in the course that we teach, the first class is the history of Wicca. And we talk about people like Gerald Gardner and Ross Nichols and Aleister Crowley. And we can kind of see how these paths came together to become the craft of the wise, or traditional Wicca as we know it today. So if you're wondering whether or not you'd like to sign up for the course, hopefully it's somewhere near October, and if it's not, you could certainly read the book in the meantime. And I just wanted now to kind of go over what's involved and what is in the class and what are you going to get. Well, we've set the class into 3 parts. So the first 2 hours is a lecture, a workshop, a teaching. Then we have an hour of ritual where we explore some of the things that we talked about in the workshop. And then the last hour, so it's a 4-hour course, the last hour we have basically a book club. So included in the class, the first day, you get a binder, and you can see how heavy this is. This one's not even completely filled, but this binder comes with all of the class notes. So you get full color and all kinds of different information for each class. So this kind of becomes a book in itself for you to reference and look things up. This is the book that we read in the class for our book club. No, we don't read our own book because the course is pretty much our own book. We read The Heart of Wicca by Ellen Cannon Reed, and she kind of goes over things really in a way like that we would like to. She kind of works to separate the people who, you know, just want to dabble and think that it's cool to be able to put a spell on someone, or who are kind of coming to the craft for the witchcraft part of it and not the spiritual religious aspect of it. Because anyone from any religion can perform witchcraft. We are talking about the craft of the rise, Wicca, and the Stewart tradition of Wicca. And yes, there's magic involved, and witchcraft involved, but not in just a hocus pocus kind of way. So you get that book. Then we have included a CD called Circle in a Box. And Anton and I recorded this with our friend Cole, and he produced it for us. And this is basically our ritual outline.
Witch Mother Lisa, Witch Mother Lisa, I've been searching for Circle in a Box. It's impossible to find. Where can I get it?
Well, that's easy. You could go to circleinabox.com, or you could just add it to your cart when you're shopping for the other items, like Simply Wicca. So it talks about cleansing and preparing yourself. You do an invocation to the 4 elements. You call the god and goddess. There's chalice and blade. There's a 9-minute section for you to do whatever working you'd like to do. And then it goes through all the thank yous and releases. So I'll drop a link to all of these things down below, so you could order our book if you wanted to. You could look into the Heart of Wicca if you wanted to, and you could order Circle in a Box beforehand if you wanted to. The other book that's included in the course is Sona Devi's Mabinogi, and we concentrate in the class on going over the first 4 branches. So we talk about Rhiannon and Puith and their son, Pryderi, and we talk about Bran and Branwen and Manawyddan and Adenrod Gwydion, those first 4 stories.
Witch Mother Lisa, Witch Mother Lisa, where could I get a statue of Bran or Branwen or these wonderful gods and goddesses that are talked about in the Mabinogi?
Well, why not check out gotdeity.com? You might find just who you've been looking for. But certainly you're more than welcome to read the rest of the book. But in a year, this is about all we can cover, the first 4 branches. Also in the class, you get something that we call a weirdness journal. So we provide some sort of notebook and pen. That way, if you've forgotten your notebook and pen, you have one to take notes in the class. You can just tuck it in the front of your book. But you also may find that energy follows thought. And as you start down the path, things start to get weirder and weirder. And I always say there are no coincidences, only synchronicities. So that's another one of my little sayings. Energy follows thought. You see from where you're standing, and there are no coincidences, only synchronicities. So you can write down your synchronicities about how, you know, you were thinking about someone and they called you that afternoon, or just you're beginning to connect to deity and psychic awareness and all of those things. So this is your weirdness journal. Throughout the course, each month when you come, we go over a little something different. So I'll just talk about the outline. In class 1, you learn who we are, how we got to where we are, kind of our history and the history of our tradition, the Stewart tradition. But you will also learn the history of the craft of the wise itself. We'll talk about Gerald Gardner, Doreen Valiente, Patricia Crowther, Ross Nichols, Aleister Crowley, and all these kinds of movers and shakers who brought us to where we are in the craft now. So it's quite a history lesson. I should also say that each of the classes has a slideshow with it, and we certainly are allowing Zoom participants. So in the current class that we're teaching, we have someone in California and someone in Wales. So people from all over can take the course on Zoom. Of course, it's much nicer if you can be in person for the ritual part, but you don't have to be. So the next bit of things that we talk about is a ritual outline, which is included in the paperwork. And we encourage people to listen to the circle in the box to kind of get their rhythm and understanding of the ritual. And there's also a message board, which is kind of like our own little Facebook or social media, that just people who have taken the class and graduated from that module can get to that module. And we repost the meditation that we did during ritual, so you could take it over and over again and make more notes. So you'll have all of the written material, you'll have the books, you'll have the CD, and you'll have access to this message board where you can see questions that other people asked or information and things that they gave. And you can listen to the ritual meditation that we did that day in class over and over again. We also talk about the course schedule. It's really important that you try to come every month, that you try to attend. It's 4 hours for 12 months. That's 48 hours worth of study. And if you miss one, yeah, you could read the paper and you could try to catch up, but you might be lost on some of the nuances of things that we explain in the class, because believe me, we can really talk. Class 2, we talk about the wheel of the year, and we look at the Sabbats in several different ways. We talk about the light half of the year and the dark half of the year. We talk about the Sabbats and their reflections and how they kind of prepare you or let you know what's going on in the Sabbat that's coming after them, right? So it's much like Wiccan astrology. In astrology, we say that the sign prepares you for what sign that's coming next and tries to make up for what the last sign didn't have to offer you. And we talk about the wheel of the year much like that, as a whole, as a cycle, as one year, not just 8 holidays that you celebrate and you're not really sure why you're celebrating them. We also look at them as solar Sabbats and terrestrial Sabbats. We look at them as celebrations of the god and the goddess and their story. And we go into great detail about why they're named what they're named in our tradition and what is actually happening with you and the moon and the earth and the sun and the stars. So that is a really amazing class. You know, we will bring astrology into it. When we talk about Albin Eiler or Ostara, we show the symbol for Aries, which 0 degrees Aries begins that Sabbat, and we talk about fertility, and we kind of morph the ovaries on that horns of the ram to really get you thinking about things. So we're always going to like drop these little things we like to call aha moments, where you can see the student go, wait, oh my goddess. So that's class 2. Class 3, we take those 2 hours and spend about a half hour each on each of the branches. So we'll go over the very basic story of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th branch of the Mabinogi. And we'll go on a journey to meet Cerridwen and Gwyn in that class. I should also mention that you get little things as we go along. In the first class, you'll get a journey crystal. And we recommend that you carry this crystal whenever you're working with Circle in a Box, doing ritual by yourself, and that you especially hold it when you're in group ritual and kind of charge it up with that energy of the meditation and the work that the meditation is having for you. So, class 4 is the moon and the Ogham. So we talk about the regular 8-fold cycle of the moon, and we compare that to the wheel of the year. So you start to make those connections of cycles. And we also delve into something called the Ogham, which is a Celtic lunar zodiac. And we start to learn about that and how that connects to our tradition. So that's quite a packet. Like, I'm going through here, and that packet brings us up to page 117, and we're only on class 4. Lesson 5 is the elements, the elementals, and the watchtowers. And we talk about the qualities of the 4 elements, and we talk a little bit about your altar, and we say things like, you know, it's great to have candles in the 4 directions, but they're not the places that we expect the elementals to reside. Certainly if you've watched Pearls of Wisdom, you've seen me say, you know, a fire elemental would love to land in a candle, but you're not going to get a water elemental to land there. So we need to start understanding that those 4 candles on the altars are actually the lights of the watchtowers. And we'll explain what a watchtower is, and we'll talk about the energies of the elements and how they work together, and whether they're passive or fixed, all that kind of stuff. Their qualities, and we'll talk about the kingdoms and the elemental kings, and the meditation will actually be one that works with the elements that day. The next class, lesson 6, we talk about magical timing. Oh, I should also say that there's this little kit that comes with the elements class that has a little something for each of the elements: a feather, a candle, a crystal, and a little shell. So you have something on your altar at home then to attract each of the elementals. You'll have something for them to reside in. Okay, lesson 6, magical timing, the basic of astrology. We'll talk about the Wiccan reed. We'll talk about planetary energies, elements and elemental spells, like, you know, the moon is in an air sign. Maybe I want to do a song spell or a chant spell or something that have to do with air. Or the moon is in an earth sign, so now I want to work with crystals or sand or dirt or something that corresponds to that energy. And we'll break it down even more and talk about the differences between, like, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and what are the 3 qualities of those air signs, so that you could make your magic really start to connect to the wheel of the year. For example, the full moon in Sagittarius is very close to the summer solstice, and it's called the strawberry moon. And many times when we look at Sag, the first thing that it lists for magical working is safe travel. And when we talk about the wheel of the year, we understand that the peak of power, the summer solstice, Albenhefen, is the first harvest, the harvest of fruits, strawberry moon. So we start to kind of bring those things together. And again, this is through the eyes of our tradition, the things that we've learned, how we understand it, and how we make sense of it. And we really want to pass that on to our community. Lesson 7 is tools of the craft. And we talk about all of the different magical tools that a witch would have. And we do some cord magic, where we consecrate like on like, and you receive a cord. And we talk about ribbons on the cord and all that it means to have it as a magical tool, not just something, to carry your athame on. We will talk about all the basic tools that go on the altar, and cord and knot magic are this. Then we move on to talk more about ciphers, magical alphabets, chakras, crystals, chanting, and all the components of things that you could put into a spell. The next class, lesson 9, is the magical wand in theory and practice. And we actually have wands that we have people make their own. So you would take this and you would learn how to size it and craft it for your individual kind of magic. And we also do a consecration, again, like on like. Lesson 10 is divination, and everybody gets a set of witches' runes. Now these are talked about in Patricia's book, I think Lid Off the Cauldron, which I'll drop a link to that too, which we do carry those for Phoenix Flames on Patricia. And you'll notice that the set we're working with has 8. And they are linked to the 8 phases of the moon and the 8 Sabbats of the Wheel of the Year. And they're also kind of linked through that astrology to different characters in the Mabinogi. And you get to kind of figure that out in your weirdness journal. So there's that. Lesson 11 is kitchen witching and hearth magic. And we talk about nutrition and food alchemy and food as medicine and the doctrine of signatures and how to do sacred mindful eating. And we talk about incense and how to make your own incense, how to choose the ingredients, because now you already know about elemental energy and you already know about astrological energy and you already know how those two things work in magic, whether you're going to be doing prosperity magic or love magic or healing or spirituality. So talk about the ingredients and how to choose them and how to actually construct your own incense. And in lesson 12, we talk about choosing a magical name, writing a dedication to a god or a goddess or both. And it is not mandatory in our class that you dedicate to Cerridwen and Gwyn, though they are the mom and dad of our household. And you could write your dedication to whoever it is that you follow. And we've had people take the class who weren't necessarily interested in dedicating, so you don't have to dedicate at the end if you don't want to. But it's kind of like, I would consider it like a little mini graduation. There's a big difference between dedication and initiation, and we certainly talk about that throughout the course. The people who make it through to dedication get a robe, an athame, and a pentacle to wear. So quite a few things that are included in the class to make your life easy towards becoming a witch. And it really is a dedication of your time and energy. 4 hours a month, every month for 12 months, you've got to be in the same place. There's no watching, recording later. You have to be present, mindful, and participate. So it really is quite a bit of dedication of time. But if you really want to become a witch, if you are finding that you're coming home to the craft of the wise and you'd like to know more about Wicca and the Stewart tradition, come on over, sign up for the course, or attend any of our Friday gatherings. We are still Zooming some of our gatherings for people who live far away, so you'd still be able to participate with maybe 1 or 2 a month. We hold for our community new moons, full moons, and of course Sabbats. So you could kind of start to get to know the people in the community, the people who belong to our tradition, and certainly get to know Anton and I. So again, I hope that you have found your way to the craft, and I hope that you start to look into it, and I hope that some of your questions get answered, though I will say, for me, every time I get an answer, I have 10 more questions. But I really do look forward to meeting you and getting to know you better. Blessed be.
Witch Mother Lisa, is there anything I can do right now to help? Well, it would be a great help if you would like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Believe me, that would be a great help. If you've already taken our Craft of the Wise course, maybe you could comment something about your experience in the class. And if you'd like to come to one of our Friday night gatherings, in person or by Zoom, or if you'd like to sign up for any of our workshops and classes or our mailing list, just give us a call at 845-255-5756. And once again, I do look very forward to meeting you. Blessed be.